It is officially 2:32 this morning on Power Zone, and we're joined by Casey Dinoge, who is a motivational speaker, and he is also a teacher, author, a counselor, a recording artist, and also radio and television personality as well. Casey, thank you so much for your time this morning. A warm welcome to Power Zone.
It's a beautiful pleasure. How are you, ma'am?
I'm very well, thank you. I think you've just brought in the spirit around here.
You guys can
Some
wake up
energy.
early. When I grow up, I want to be like you guys.
Listen, when I grow up, I want to be like you. Imagine someone being on time for a 2 a.m. interview.
Such a
It
pleasure.
doesn't happen very often, you know. Let's speak about this album that you've now released.
Yeah.
You are highly sticking to mental health, mental diet, and there's a specific reason why you also decided it was quite important to release it during Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
Why particularly mental diet?
Yeah. You see, we focus a lot when it comes to food, physical food that we eat, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what I have observed through the years is that we do not actually police our mind the way we're supposed to. And that is an integral part of who we are as human beings. So it's so important that you sanitize your mind. You understand? Remember the time of COVID, where everything sanitized this and that.
Yeah.
But how often do we sanitize our minds? And how cognizant are we when it comes to mental diet? Because we chow everything, anything, anytime.
And it happens in such a way that we don't focus on it. We really just go about on our days, and we don't get an opportunity to sanitize, like you put it, especially when it comes to mental health. It's almost like it doesn't matter. But the truth of the matter does. It does matter. In this mental diet, there's a couple of tracks, and I think there's... as they are stated, maybe the intro as well, you are what you think, a welcome message setting the tone for the album, mindset is everything. I mean, of course, we can understand why this would be an intro and a welcoming message, but what sort of power and tone does this carry with the mindset structure as well that's involved?
The beauty of this album is the awareness that it raises to you. It heightens your consciousness of your thinking process. So on a daily basis, you become more cognizant of your thinking. Remember that we can operate pretty on an autopilot where you are not even aware of the thoughts that you are having. And this album, what it does is that it regroups you and it says to you, be aware of what you are thinking about. Because that now will zone you into where you are, and you'll be making decisions intentionally. So the emphasis of this album is to feed your mind with a good diet so that at the end of the day, you are not overweight mentally, you are not underweight mentally. I mean, talking about mental health, we know that depression is a big deal nowadays. It's something that wherever you go, companies, institutions, students, you know, it's unfortunately a disease that is hammering a whole lot of people at a mental level. That's why this album plays a major role in ensuring that we curb the scourge of this depression and other mental diseases.
There's a parallel relationship to mental health, mental diet, and also what we consume on a daily basis. You say we never take time. It's almost like we are operating on autopilot. And I think the importance of what we consume also plays a very integral role in terms of our mindset and what exactly it is that we are going on a diet, a mental diet for. Let's speak about consumption.
Yeah.
Tell me, what are some of the things that people are consuming the wrong way, maybe when we're looking at a diet, and how much of it are they consuming? And how do I then refrain from consuming what you've mentioned as one of the biggest hindrance when it comes to affording yourself the mental diet?
We live in a space of social media, and social media is part of who we are. You wake up in the morning.
Is it really?
No, it is. You wake up in the morning. Guess what? You go to your phone. Chances are, is either you're going to go to X, Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, or any other social platform.
Yeah.
It has become a culture. even small kids want phones. And not just any other phone, but smartphones. Why? They want to be able to have access to these social media platforms. Am I saying it's wrong? Totally no. But guess what? There are contents in there that oftentimes do not actually work for your advantage. They do not uplift you. Instead, they cause you to be gloomy. And I'm not saying we should not be realistic in terms of what's happening around us. But at the same time, when you overindulge on the negative side of life, guess what you are doing? You are feeding your mind with the food that is going to cause you to malfunction as a human being.
Yeah.
So social media, when I approach it these days, I approach it cautiously and I approach it with an end in mind. Why? Is it just a matter of being entertained? Or is it a matter of, okay, I'm going there for a certain reason? So I just want us to practice this thing called intentionality. Whatever you are consuming, you need to understand what will be the repercussions at the end of the day. I'll make an example. It's a cold season right now. You know, June is right here around the corner. Today, the 26th, right? Or 27th?
27th.
Yeah, I'm just checking when you get paid. Because people get paid monthly. They know the days of the month and stuff. You know? But here we are right now, Pretty. We are eating every day. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about natural food. I was talking about the cold season. The cold season will require that you take a lot of vitamin C so that you are able to boost your immune system in dealing with the cold and the flus that will be flying all over the place. So that is in a physical realm. But now, what about the mental realm? How cognizant are we and what are we taking on a daily basis to ensure that you are healthy mentally? Because no matter how much we talk about mental health is hooked to mental diet. You will never be able to reproduce mental health if you are not aware of the diet mentally that you are consuming. And guess what? In the physical realm, we understand it.
Yeah.
And we treat it as, okay, it's logical. If you chow, you know, all those nice junk food, and that's the thing about them,
they can describe it as nice.
I'm trying to be, you know, diplomatic. You know, I'm rebuking myself. I'm talking to myself, actually, not to you. I know you only eat veggies and your fruits and stuff like that. You are not like me, you know. But when you consume the food that you know has a lot of calories and sugar and salt, you know the effects physically. The mind is the same. Whatever you consume at a mental level is going to cause you to function well or not to function well. So we need to be cognizant of that. And that is why this album is so critical, Pretty. It's so critical because we don't only tell you about how the mind works, we actually give you the food. For instance, confidence. Confidence is one of the subjects we talk about in this album. How do you build self-confidence? How do you build yourself as a leader? How do you see yourself as a leader? This is the food you need to ensure that your mind eats good food so that you can produce great stuff.
That's very interesting. I want to catch you there on seasons. You mentioned seasons, you know, obviously it's that time of the season where everybody is getting hooked on your vitamin C, the oranges, and just trying to keep a balanced diet, refraining from catching the flu as well. Would you say maybe the album is also accommodative of seasonal effects, and how so would that be?
Seasonal effects.
Yes. So you know, everybody goes through a season. Mm-hmm. We know that it can be the most joyful time of your life. And then there's a moment to cry. And then there's a moment of just, you know, going back and forth with yourself with some of the questions. Is it also an album that accommodates different seasons that people are going through?
Thank you for mentioning that. It's a balanced diet. So for the fact that you asked that question, I appreciate. You know, you're a smart lady. Not only outwardly, but even mentally. And I appreciate that. So it accommodates different seasons of life. You know, life itself, I mean, you might be going through your winter. And I'm going through my summer.
Yeah.
So the album, the beauty of it is that it will accommodate you as you're going through your winter. And it will also accommodate you as you are entering your summer. With your bikini and stuff like that. Yeah, something like that. You get what I'm saying? So the most important thing is it will cover the seasons of life. And life itself is full of all these seasons. Today, you might be going through a tough period. Tomorrow, you're going through an amazing period. And then the other time, it looks like, okay, now it's winterish, So the album encapsulates like that capsule. It has zinc in it. It has iron in it. It has vitamin C in it. So that at the end of the day, you glow like pretty.
I love that. The well-balanced diet, right? That's the one. And I think that sounds very interesting because sometimes it doesn't take a month or a year to go through seasons. It can all be in one day. And I think the beauty of it is that you can always track back in some of the track lists that you have on your album to get the one that really is fitting for that day or for that hour, for that moment. Repetition plays a very big role for me, especially after reading a lot of mental related books and listening to a lot of conversations as well. Is there a power of repetition in your album that plays part of gaining positivity and also emphasizes on the losing of the negative side on the very same breath?
Repetition is critical. So definitely it's part of the album. I remember there's a track where we're talking about positive thinking, So many people would read a book once or listen to a track once and think that at the end of the day, they're going to be positive. Repetition plays a major role in terms of, framing your thinking pattern. So repetition should be practiced on a daily basis. I'll make an example. I listen to the album probably more than anyone who will ever listen to the album. On a daily basis, I ensure that I deal with my own mind as much as is my voice behind, the content that is in the album. But the reason why I do that is because if I don't pay attention to repetition, I will lose the positive mindset. So repetition reinforces an idea and a concept so that it sticks. And once that idea, as you and I know, has seeped into the subconscious mind, it becomes your thinking pattern. Once it becomes your thinking pattern, it controls your lifestyle. Now you produce and you manifest the behavior naturally. And that's the beauty of repetition. So in the album, you don't buy it today, listen to the whole tracks and say, okay, I'm fine, I've listened to the whole thing. No, it's like that beautiful song that you love. How many times have you listened to it? You listen to it over and over and over again.
Until you know the lyrics.
Until you know the lyrics,
You play the sing-along game.
100%. So the same thing when it comes to reprogramming the mind. Repetition is a critical aspect of it.
You've created this album with a target audience in mind. Young professionals, students, faith-based and personal development communities, radio listeners and podcast followers as well. It's quite a widespread audience. Why this audience in particular? Why did you feel like there was a certain age group and a gap to bridge when it comes to the some of the audience that I've mentioned?
Yeah. You see, the mind is not an individual thing where it affects only Pretty, it affects only KC. No. How our mind function, it affects all of us. And I've noticed that a good number of us, especially those who are in the corporate space, we went to varsities, we studied and stuff like that. But a good number of us, we were not trained how to operate our mind. So yes, we are qualified when it comes to our careers. Great, nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to understanding how your own mind functions, you find that you are not really clued up. And that has become a limiting factor in how far we can go in life. So this album, it's taking you, it's here to catapult you. Here you are, you might be doing well in your career and you're thinking that you have reached the pinnacle. But no, it will actually take you an extra height. Why? Because now you understand how your mind functions. And when that is an awareness, and when you constantly feed your mind with the good stuff and the content in the album, it will help you to really function. Another example, something that I want to mention, we complain about how sometimes in Joburg, the traffic. Here you are driving. You could be in school while you are driving. The traffic is packed. But instead of complaining about the traffic, your mind is actively being fed with the right content from Mental Diet Project that enables you to become a better individual. So instead of complaining, you're actually now creating a better vibration.
So what you are basically saying is that people should stop listening to radio, play your album while they are going to work. And
You
then
know
we
that's not
run
what
out
I'm
of
saying.
business and you take over. Casey,
Are you saying I'm shooting myself on the foot?
I think you are.
No. Right now they're listening. They're getting empowered because the content is solid.
And then tomorrow morning they won't be listening.
But come on, this is power, man. Now we are talking. And we're always
dangerous
talking.
are you? It was quite important for you, and I think you really planned the whole album release centered around the month of May, which is mental health awareness. What sort of advantage do you foresee this bringing towards the consumer and yourself as well? Why was it important for you to specifically choose this month of May?
What I can say is it's not necessarily the month for me. Mm-hmm. You understand? It's the fact that I've been through depression, pretty. And depression is not an easy path to travel through. And based on that, I said to myself, a good number of men in particular, I know that June will be focusing on men's health, which will include men's mental health. A good number of us as men, we struggle with mental issues. Women go through that as well, but guess what? You guys are able to express yourself easier. But when it comes to us, I'm a daughter. Hey, it's tough to open up because, we want to appear like we are macho men, we are Superman, we are Batman. So I want our men as much as our women, but I want our men as well to come to a place where you accept that you also need help at a mental level, so that this album plays a big role in elevating you to where you need to be.
It's a very important thing as you bring up men into the conversation, because I like how your album is not necessarily targeted to a certain gender. But would you say that with some of the tracks, there's some sort of biased tracks towards gender?
No, I will be misrepresenting the album. Mm-hmm. As much as I'm a male, obviously I will be influenced, with the psyche of a man based on society and stuff like that and upbringing. But when you listen to it, it's not only, cut for a certain gender. It is an album that accommodates both females and males. And the reason why this is the way it is because my clients are both males and females. The people I sit down with who have been through trauma, whether from relationship, business-wise, any other aspect of life, these are individuals who are not necessarily males or females. It's both of them.
What are you hoping the album outcome is for different individuals?
Revolution. At the end of the day, the album should bring transformation that is tangible. You see, what I like about this album is not fakey and it's not flaky, where I expect you to produce results overnight. No, that's not how the mind works. You mentioned repetition. Yeah. So repetition is a process that will be able to work on your mind until it's so transformed and you are able to produce great results. So it is designed to challenge your thinking, to challenge how you see yourself, because the biggest deal, pretty, is when you change self-perception. Once you change how you see yourself, you are able to position yourself much better. So it works internally to deal with your psyche, to deal with your self-perception. Once that alters, I promise you, even your outward environment will alter to accommodate that.
Listen, you speak about this being a mental diet, and when we go out to restaurants to have a well-balanced meal, there's always some sort of a meal that complements something, a drink that complements something. What would you think is the ideal complementing piece to the album?
Let me understand you properly.
So if I'm going to go and have a steak, a red wine would probably be my choice.
Yeah.
So I'm saying at this moment, you've created an album. The pairing of it, do you picture it on a Sunday while somebody's cooking, maybe driving? You also maybe mentioned that as well. But what is the ideal pairing? Maybe it also needs you or requires you to be alone compared to be in a group setup or some sort of...
I get you.
Yeah.
I get you. Preferably when you're alone. Preferably. And I'm saying preferably because I don't want to fix it, to the fact that you must be alone.
Yeah.
But when you are alone, especially when you are alone and you just lie back on your couch, on your bed, and you listen to it, you allow it to wash you mentally. And you allow it to create imaginations in your own mind. Because that way now you maximize the potential of the album. So it's very important that you create space for yourself. Even at the gym. When you go to the gym, you're on that treadmill, girl. My word.
Sweat it
and
out.
you are, yes. And you're doing your runs, you're doing this and that, and you're listening to inspiration. And here is something that is so beautiful because the producer of the album is an amazing engineer. He's called Biddy Boss. Biddy Boss is so good when it comes to elements. For instance, there's an album there where he went around and he recorded the sound of birds. So you will hear the sound of background. Yo! The music that complements the audio. The music itself is therapy. Actually, there will be times where you feel like, is it possible to mute a little bit the voice and just get lost in the music? So what we did is we wanted to create something that is addictive. And I'm saying it out loud. So that as you're listening to it, your vibration goes to another level. You know how powerful music is.
Yes.
Especially the music that we are playing there. The elements, the instruments that are brought to support the audio proper. Long distance driving. After you have listened to Power FM, after you have listened to good music and stuff, and then you just pause. You're saying, for the next hour, I'm going to focus on mental diet. I promise you, so many tracks will hit you, you will repeat them. You will repeat them. And I know I'm acting like a salesperson, but who else should sell my album? I have to sell my album. But I promise you, I'm selling an album that is solid.
Yeah. I think at this point, another compliment to it would be a journal, so that every moment that you really get a vision or a thought that you think you really need to work on, then just to journal something down and guide yourself through it. How long is the album?
It's an hour. It's an hour-long album. Are you looking for a second job? Because it looks like you can be a marketing director. I'm just saying. I hope I'm not going to get you fired.
I hope not, because if you do, then I come knocking.
No, you will come. I'll give you a job. Kidding.
So you say it's an hour long?
It's an hour-long album. It's 10 tracks. It's 10 tracks. They deal with different subjects. Like I've mentioned, there's a subject that deals a lot with positive thinking, but not from a rah-rah point of view, but the basics, the practicality of how to really develop a mindset that is positive. There is another one that I love the most. It talks about leadership. It's important that you are not just an individual in a position of power, but you understand how to handle power. I've heard a good number of people, including yesterday, somebody saying black people are struggling to handle power. It's not necessarily true, but the person is speaking from what they have observed. Where you put one of us in power, then the abuse of power becomes more like inevitable. So we need to work with that, We need to work with that, and the album ensures that it channels your energy to the right direction so that you harness that power to build, not to break.
Casey, it looks like you've got your fan already. We've got Sammy from Rustenburg. Sammy, thank you very much for your time this morning. Welcome to Power 987. We've got 3 minutes on the clock. Let me know what you're thinking.
Good morning.
Sammy, your line is quite terrible. I'm going to have to let you go, unfortunately. Do you want to repeat that?
I was saying morning to the handsome guy that you interview right now. And morning to him. I was like to make a plan on how does my brother there feel about drugs? Because drugs have been, especially those ones.
All right, Sam, it's a bit terrible on my side, but I think I've got your point and I'll cross it through to Casey. Casey, I think roughly the question is, how do you feel about drugs?
How do I feel about drugs?
Yes.
No, drugs obviously a coping mechanism. So when I look at drugs, I see a symptom that our society is struggling with. I don't see the problem, I see a symptom. And I'm not acknowledging that it is problematic, but we are dealing with an effect. We are not dealing with the cause. The most important thing when you perceive drugs is, why are people abusing drugs? That's when our mental issues come to play. If you are mentally healthy, I promise you, you cannot be hooked on any substance. Why? You are at a place of contentment and tranquility. And once that is well taken care of, you will not have a room to depend on something on the outside to make you high.
We could do this all morning. I didn't want to say it, but I had to say it. 2 minutes to the clock. Where can people get a hold of your album?
Okay, our WhatsApp number is 060-786-5982. 060-786-5982. Just get hold of us via WhatsApp. I promise you, you are going to be inspired.
Life-changing.
100%.
Casey, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Bless you.
And that is Casey Dinoke, motivational teacher, author, counselor, recording artist, and radio and television personality, giving us some motivation, but most importantly, allowing us into understanding his album that is titled Mental Diet, saying that each and every single track is a consumption of something absolutely beautiful and brilliant, the beginning of what is a new chapter in your life and something that will change you for the better. And that's how we wrap up our time together. Thank you so much for choosing us as Power Zone. Thank you so much for choosing us as Power 987. It's always a pleasure and an honor to be in your space and in your presence. Agwena is going to be coming up next, and that's between the hours of 3 until 6 o'clock. Thank you to the producers of the show as well, and our technical producer as well. Let's meet again tomorrow as we give you the Wednesday installment of Power Zone. My name is Pretty Ngwenya across all social media platforms. That's PRETTIE_Ngwenya. It's been nothing short of a pleasure. Good morning.